Today we're going to get things ready and do our tomatoes. Now, as you see here, this is where we're going to plant them. You can see how it's divided up into sections. There's one here, one here, one here, and so on. Now we had a flood here, so you can see where the water's run through and all, but it's still okay. Now, this is where the tomatoes were last year. That's how we grow them, and I'm going to show you how to do it. It's easy, but it takes brute force and ignorance. Now what I'm going to do first is on this strip right along here, I'm going to put down fertilizer, which is this, 10. You can use chicken poop or horse poop or whatever you want, but I don't have enough of that, so we're using 10. And most importantly, lime. Now this is dolomitic limestone. It has magnesium in it. Magnesium's important. Why? Because it's the center of the chlorophyll molecule. Chlorophyll means photosynthesis. Never mind. But anyway, what it does, that means the plant's doing its thing using sunlight and raw materials, turning it into all kinds of stuff. In this case, tomatoes. Now what I'm going to do is along this here, I'm just going to scatter this lightly. Limestone is very important for tomatoes because without it you get calcium deficiency, which leads to blossom end rot on the fruit, which means at the opposite end of the fruit from where the stem is attached, it turns black and nasty. And it sucks when you see a perfect tomato and grab hold of it to pick it and the bottom's all nasty. And, you know, it's chicken feed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this and the fertilizer in the bucket and scatter it here. But I'm going to do it one at a time. I'm going to do either one first, and then we'll take it from there. Then I'll show you the next step. Think nice thoughts. See, I'm putting it in the center of the row. This is a lime. Notice it's pelletized. Otherwise it'd be looking like my can was on fire. And I don't know if you can hear me because Marcy's staying a good bit away right now. Even though this stuff does not smell bad. Maybe I do. Anyway, see, I'm putting it on here. I'm not going to work it in. There's cracks in the soil and you'll see how it works later.
I just don't walk steadily with this camera. That's the only thing.
Oh, got that palsy thing going?
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, I'm going to do the same thing with the fertilizer, but not as heavy. Huh? Now? Mm-hmm. Okay. Some of you don't like using chemical fertilizers and stuff like that, but I don't really care. I do. You know, but only when necessary and only like the minimum amount of what I need, because it's not cheap. It comes from good stuff like petroleum and all. We like petroleum. We like gasoline. We like diesel fuel. We like aviation gas. We like grease. Now, I'm going to put this down, but not as heavy as I did the limestone.
Let me get a shot of that stuff, what it looks like.
It's just granule fertilizer.
Oh, okay.
This is 10. Equal parts nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. NPK. Nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus. Now that we put our fertilizer and the lime down where we're going to plant the tomatoes. And you're saying, Sam, look at all those weeds coming up in there. Whatever are you going to do? You're going to have a weed patch in there. Now the next phase of our process commences. Now what we do, as you can see, we also have chickens. That means chicken feed. That means chicken feed comes in feed bags. These are paper bags. They're really quite thick. You know, they're like, you probably get 8 layers of this when you fold them like this. Now what we do is we put these here like this. Following along the line where we want to plant. We'll overlap them slightly. And it's kind of breezy today, so they might take off. just like this. The modern term for this is something kind of weird sounding called repurposing, but we don't like to use that. We like traditional terms like using what you got. So we put this like this. All right, so you got your line there. Now we take this. This is from a big old round bale of hay that a guy I know gave me, and I gave him some asparagus for him and his family. It's old nasty bale. His cows ain't gonna eat it. So he got rid of it, but I think it's gold. You take this, and then you put it on top, and make a nice kind of windrow out of it, like this. One thing about tomatoes, you want consistency in the moisture, because if when they're growing and they got fruit set and they get too dry and then a rain comes, the fruit absorbs that water from the roots and swells and cracks it, pops the skin on it, and makes it nasty. But if you do this, you moderate those peaks and valleys between rainy and dry periods. You can also do it with irrigation, but I'm too lazy to put in an irrigation system. So you go like this. Now I'm going to do this all the way to the end. Then what we'll do, you can see where they grew last year. We're going to put T-posts in there. They're going to be 6 feet apart. 2 plants in between each one at 3 feet apart. What we'll do when we get ready to plant is we'll push this aside like this. Find the feed bag, take a knife or something, cut it like that, push it open, dig a little hole and put the plant in, and then put this around it a little bit. But that will continue on and there'll be more details about that. But this works great. Go to commercial.
In the video, Sam, in the time it took me to fold some laundry and make deviled eggs, Sammy has dug out all the posts here and moved them over here to his tomato planting, and we are going to have a lot of tomatoes. Anything you want to say, Sammy?
Yeah, when you come closer. I don't like to shout it across the room.
He's been busy. Hi, Doodle. Okay.
Welcome to the brute force and ignorance portion of our program. Now, I like these 6 foot apart. These T-posts are 6 foot long, so I use one as a guide. Then we put it in the center, and it just pounds through the straw, the hay, whatever it is, and the paper sacks. And you don't have to pound them in real deep, just deep enough, because, I mean, they're not going to be holding cattle in or anything. They're just holding tomato plants. But you want them fairly stout. The ones on the end you put pretty deep, so because they're kind of anchoring things together. But then you just, I like to stand on a bucket because I'm not a real tall person. So I stand on the bucket, and you can feel it when it breaks through the bag, because it gets a lot easier.
That's hot.
And you pound it in, it's snug. Now there'll be 2 tomato plants between each one. There'll probably be one here and one here. And when we string them, we'll run the string from this side of the post over to this side of the post. And then it'll wrap around and be on the opposite side and make like a real elongated figure 8. They'll cross here and the plants will be in the middle. You do it as many times as you need. The first one sucks because it's low to the ground and you got to wrap it around and it's a little hard on your back.
And tell the folks why you're putting this string up?
To support the plants.
Okay.
And then as the plant grows, you just continuously, when you get up about this high, it's a lot easier. Because then you just go around and back. You go down to the end of the row and then come back the opposite way. When we're done, I'll draw a diagram on a picture for you. but it makes like a hedgerow. It gets plenty of light and air circulation, which is good for disease and fungus problems, and it's easy to pick. Now, the tomatoes will grow much taller than these stakes sometimes, so what I probably will do before I put strings on is lash some bamboo to every other one, make it about like that.
And you're what? You're 5'9"?
5'11".
You're 5'11"? Okay, stand next to one of the posts so they can kind of get an idea.
Is this like a police lineup?
Yeah. Yeah.
Turn to the right, turn to the left. No, I ain't been in that one.
Okay, it kind of gives you an idea. They get pretty tall.
5 feet tall.
Okay.
So I'm pounding them in a foot or so. The ones on the end I pound deeper because they got a, it's going to be a pulling towards the center, so they're in deeper.
Okay.
Could use taller posts at the ends, but I'm not because I don't have any. Or either I got some that are too tall and I'm not climbing up in the air. And then, after I get these done, I'm going to be done for the day. I've had enough. My arms get sore pounding all this in. So, I'll do something else. And tomorrow, we will put the tomatoes in here. And then we'll wait, and when they get a certain height and start to flop over, we'll start stringing. And just do it as it grows. And I'll have some of that on here. But one thing you got to remember with tomatoes, once they start growing, no leaves touching the soil. No leaves touching the mulch, you pull them off. That causes water to splash and creates fungus and all other types of diseases. And you do good if you don't do that, if you don't allow them to do that simple thing. So, I'm going to keep pounding posts until I'm done. I got to go to the end.
How many tomato plants do you think there's going to be?
I don't know. I'll just count the spaces and multiply by 2.
Enough to feed an army. We'll be back.
Alright, we got it all set up. I worked myself to death pounding these stakes in. The stakes are 6 feet apart. You just pound them right through the straw and the paper, and now everything's in there that the plant needs, except sunlight, but that comes from above. Anyway, today we're going to plant. Now, we got enough space in here for 48 plants. That's a lot of tomatoes. If each one yields a bushel, 52 pounds per bushel, do the math yourself. Now, we got 3 key ingredients for planting. Number 1, plants. It's hard to plant without them. And something to dig a little hole with. And most importantly, really, aside from the plants, water. Remember our rule. After transplant, water. Water, water, water. You don't have to worry about that so much with seeds, but little plants, water. Now here's how we do this. Now these are tomato plants we started ourselves.
From seed.
Yeah, not from rocks or bananas. But
not from a little plant.
Right. See what I'm doing? I'm pulling off the bottom leaves. You do not want little leaves on the bottom to really come in contact with the soil, but starting out is okay. Now let's find a good representative. See on this one here? See those little bumps? Those are little roots to be. And what we want to do is pull off the leaves, and we want to plant them to about right here, because they will sprout roots all along this stem. I'm pinching off the lower leaves, and that'll give a bigger root system, more roots. Roots, think of like a supply line. More supply can make more product, and that's what we want. So let's go over here. Now, in between the stakes will be 2 plants. One will be here, pretty much. One will be here. See how white my legs are? They ain't been out in the sun. But both my parents were white, so it's okay. Now, to do this, we pull aside the hay, and there's our feed bag. Right there.
Let me get on the other side here. Sorry. Okay.
Now we're going to bust this open. It's easier if this has been rained on. Like,
smells something stinky.
It wasn't me. But then we make a little place like this.
Oh, like a little box.
And see, our fertilizer and everything's already in there, so we don't got to worry about that. This is good dirt.
Yeah, it's nice and soft.
So we dig a nice hole like this. Dig a $5 hole for a 50-cent plant. Then we find a over here, baby.
Oh.
Then we find a victim. Pop him out. Remember, push on the bottom. Then grab him, squeeze him not too hard, just enough to hold on to him. See the roots? They're good. Then we put him down. Now see, this portion will be under the soil, and he's going to sprout roots on that. Then we just gather the soil. And this also works in the fertilizer and the limestone in there. Then we can put this back. That prevents weeds and keeps the moisture around him. We talked about that, eliminating peaks and valleys. Now, I'm big on water. It's a nice sunny day. Preferably, the best time to do this would really be in the evening with a rainy day following. That's usually best for transplants. But since it's supposed to rain a couple days from now, we are going to make it rain.
You're giving them a good dousing, right?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of moisture left in that soil from the flood we had a week ago. So, see, that's good. Then we just kind of tuck this back nice and neat. Now once these become established, I will not allow any leaves to touch this. As they grow up, I will eliminate any leaves touching the straw. And now we get to do this 47 more times. But we ain't going to film that. So, we'll go to... Alright, we got all our little guys in the ground. There's 48 of them in there. We got a few left over, which we're going to save in case something terrible happens to a few of them, and we can just replace them. We're tired. We've been bending over, digging little holes and all that, so we're about done for the day. With this, we'll go up, and they're about done now. They've been planted, they've been watered, they got everything they need. And next thing we'll do, we'll go up to the house, and I'll attempt to draw you a diagram of the procedure for running the string. It's not really string, it's plastic baling twine. But anyway, we'll take it from there. Okay, now I'm gonna try to illustrate how to do the string thing with the tomatoes, to string them. Now this young man here is my youngest son, James.
Howdy.
That's all the speaking part he gets. But we're making a video. Hush.
She could get her face in there.
Yeah, you can come in. Come on in, Lauren. You can
stand behind James.
Stand by your man.
No, I'm good.
She's preggo, so she's a little moody. All right. Now, these X's here are going to be indicating...
You got to make them bigger than that.
Alright.
There you go.
These are stakes. This is like a top view. Hey. This is like looking down from the top. Circles.
Bigger.
Can you come in closer?
I am close.
Alright.
I think maybe they'll be better when I download it because the sun's so bright. Okay, good.
The circles indicate the plants. Now, I use plastic baling twine. I bought it 20 years ago. I still got some. One of the things you'll find out is you need to put it on something else rather than tote this thing around. Put it on a stick like this. Then you can weave it around the plants and stuff. Alright, you're going to start here. This is your end stake. What I'm drawing now represents the string. You go around this one, and that one, and this one, like that, and then you come back. So you got a figure 8, and you pull it tight, because it's going to support the plant. So what you get, it's like a plant, these will be the stakes. What you get is a line going across here. Then you get to the end of the row, you turn it back and go like this. As the plant grows, then you do it again. And keep doing it as the plant grows till you get to the top of the stake, because you ain't got nothing to wrap around. I go from stake around the plants, and then I wrap it around the stake twice, like this. So it doesn't, you can't just let it sit there because it won't hold. Don't turn your back on the audience. See, when I get to a stake, I take it and I go around like that. And then when I come back, this will be on the other side of the stake like this, crossing in the middle.
Yeah, that's a better demonstration.
See, like that? Plant will be here, plant will be here. The stakes are 6 feet apart. And the X, where they cross, is in the middle. And the first staking or two is a pain in the tuchus, because you got to bend down. But when they get up about this high, it's not so bad. And you can prune them when you do it too. If you got too much plant, you know, it's bunching up, just prune some of it out. It's a forgiving plant. It'll grow. It won't hurt anything. And it makes it easier. So what you create is a hedge row of tomatoes. This works good for a small garden, because where you got a little bit of space, you've got 6 tomato plants, you put in however many stakes you need, and do this, and then they grow up instead of spreading out into your beans and everything. It also allows light, air circulation, which is good for disease prevention. And one other thing I forgot to mention, when you're putting down your, before you put down your paper, if you want, you can get some of that soaker hose that's made out of old tires that leaks, and put under there, and then put your paper, and put your hay and everything else on there. Just make sure you don't pound the stake in where it is, because it'll cut it and you'll get too much soaking in one spot. So, and then you just hook it up and you can control it. But here in Central Virginia, that usually is enough. You don't usually have to water, because good Lord sends rain. But if you want to give them a little extra fertilizer, you use a liquid like Miracle Grow or something. They make a great tomato food. Just mix it according to the label and go and water them individually. But if not, you're good.